Barack Obama walks into the FBI evidence room. What he finds about the Kennedy case stuns America. Obama's footsteps echoed through the empty hallway of the J. Edgar Hoover building. At 11:47 p.m., the massive FBI headquarters felt like a sleeping giant. His familiar Secret Service detail had reluctantly agreed to wait in the lobby. This was something he needed to do alone. "Good evening, Mr. President," the night guard said, standing up from his desk. His nameplate read, "Thompson. Please, just Barack these days." Obama replied with his characteristic smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "How long have you been with the Bureau, Thompson?" 23 years, sir. Never thought I'd be checking credentials for a former president at midnight." Thompson chuckled, examining Obama's security badge. "Everything seems in order. Though I have to ask, bit of an unusual hour for a visit." Obama nodded, his expression growing serious. "Sometimes the truth keeps its own schedule, Thompson. Sometimes it waits until the quiet hours to make itself heard." The guard's smile faded slightly, sensing the weight in Obama's words. "Down the hall. Take the elevator to B3. You'll need to use your keycard twice. The evidence archives are through the red door. Your clearance is still active for another 3 months, sir." "Thank you." Obama paused, then added, "Thompson, if anyone asks, nobody came through here tonight, sir. Above my pay grade to know anything about that." The guard's eyes showed understanding. He'd been around long enough to know when something important was happening. The elevator ride felt longer than it should have. Obama's mind drifted to the phone call that had brought him here. 7 days ago, his private line had rung at 3 a.m. "Mr. President, I apologize for the hour." The voice was weak, raspy. "This is Special Agent James Morrison, retired. We met briefly in 2011 during a security briefing." "Agent Morrison. Yes, I remember." Obama had sat up in bed, immediately alert. Former FBI agents didn't make middle-of-the-night calls to ex-presidents without good reason. "Sir, I'm at Georgetown University Hospital. Pancreatic cancer. Doctors say I have days, maybe hours." A wet cough interrupted him. "There's something you need to know. Something I've carried for too long." "I'm listening, James." November 1963. I was a junior agent, fresh out of Quantico. What I saw, what I found. Another cough, more violent this time. B3 evidence room, section 11J. Behind the main box, there's a false panel. Hoover's personal. The sentence dissolved into wheezing. "Agent Morrison, they're coming with more morphine. Sir, you have to look. You're the only one with both the clearance and the..." His voice grew distant, mumbling something about constitutional crisis before the line went dead. Obama had tried calling back, but Morrison's nurse answered. The agent had slipped into a coma. He died 36 hours later. The elevator doors opened to B3, bringing Obama back to the present. The air was noticeably cooler here, with the slight metallic taste that came with being 3 stories underground. Motion-activated lights flickered to life as he walked, creating a bubble of illumination that moved with him through the darkness. His phone buzzed. Michelle checking in. "I'm okay," he texted back. "Should be home in a couple of hours." "Be careful," came the reply. "I don't like this." "Neither do I." But Morrison was right. Someone has to look. The red door loomed ahead. Obama took a deep breath, swiped his card, and entered his PIN. The lock disengaged with a heavy clunk. The FBI's main evidence archive was massive. Row after row of metal shelving units stretching into the distance, each packed with boxes containing pieces of American history. Some were recent, others dated back to the Bureau's founding. All of them held secrets. Obama pulled out his phone and opened the note where he'd written Morrison's directions. Section 11J. The layout was logical, and he found it within minutes. But standing there, staring at the boxes labeled Kennedy, John F., November 22, 1963, he hesitated. As president, he'd been briefed on the official findings. He'd read the Warren Commission report. Like every president since Johnson, he'd seen the classified addendums. But Morrison's call suggested something else, something hidden even from that. A noise from somewhere in the archive made him jump. Just the building settling, probably. Still, he felt exposed standing there. The weight of what he was about to do pressed down on him. This wasn't just looking at evidence. This was potentially uncovering something that had been deliberately buried for 60 years. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted the first box. Decades of dust cascaded to the floor. The contents were familiar. Photographs of Dealey Plaza, ballistics reports, witness statements. All items that had been thoroughly examined by countless investigators. But Morrison had said something about a false panel. Obama ran his fingers along the inside of the box, pressing gently. Nothing. He moved to the second box, then the third. In the fourth, he felt it. A slight give in what should have been solid backing. His heart rate quickened as he carefully pried at the edge. With a soft pop, a thin metal panel came loose. Behind it was a manila envelope, yellowed with age. And inside that envelope was a single notebook, small enough to fit in a pocket, bound in black leather. The first page bore a simple inscription. Personal Notes, J.E.H., J. Edgar Hoover's private notebook. Obama sank into a nearby chair, the magnitude of what he was holding hitting him full force. This wasn't supposed to exist. Hoover had famously ordered all his personal papers destroyed upon his death. Yet here was something that had survived, hidden away in a place so obvious no one had thought to look deeper. The first few entries were mundane. Appointments, reminders, phone numbers. But then he turned to November 21st, 1963, and his blood ran cold. Noise behind him made him slam the notebook shut. Footsteps? Hello? His voice sounded too loud in the cavernous space. No response. Obama's hands were sweating now. He needed more time with the notebook, but not here. Not where anyone could walk in. He slipped it into his jacket pocket, carefully replaced the false panel, and returned the box to its shelf. As he walked back toward the exit, his mind was racing. Morrison had known about this. How? And why tell Obama now, after all these years? The guard, Thompson, looked up as Obama emerged from the elevator. Find what you were looking for, sir? Obama managed a small smile. Sometimes the answers we find just lead to more questions, Thompson. Isn't that always the way, sir? The guard's eyes flickered briefly to Obama's jacket pocket, then back to his face. Have a good night, Mr. President. And be careful. Outside, the November air was crisp. Obama's security detail fell in around him without a word. In the car, he felt the notebook pressing against his chest like a weight. His phone buzzed again. Michelle. On my way home. Did you find something? Yes, but I'm not sure I was ready for what it was. Come home. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. Obama stared out the window as Washington slid past. The monuments lit up against the night sky. Somewhere in his pocket, Hoover's words waited. Words that might shatter 60 years of history. The car turned onto Pennsylvania Avenue, passing the White House. Obama thought about Kennedy's time there, cut tragically short. He thought about all the presidents since then who had carried the weight of Dallas. Now that weight had found its way to him. The notebook seemed to burn in his pocket. He would read it tonight, every page. But something told him that once he did, nothing would ever be quite the same. Sir? His lead agent's voice broke through his thoughts. We're home. Obama nodded, stepped out of the car, and walked toward his front door. Behind him, the city slept, unaware that in a few hours, everything they thought they knew about one of history's darkest days might change forever. Michelle was waiting up, a cup of tea growing cold beside her. One look at his face told her everything she needed to know. That bad? Obama reached into his pocket and pulled out the notebook. I haven't read it all yet. But yes, I think it might be that bad. She squeezed his hand. Then let's read it together. And so, in the quiet of their study, Barack Obama sat down to learn the truth about November 22nd, 1963. A truth that had waited 60 years to be found. Obama settled into his leather chair. Michelle perched on the armrest beside him. The study was quiet, except for the soft ticking of the grandfather clock. A gift from Joe Biden years ago. Should we be reading this here? Michelle asked, glancing at the windows. What about security? The house is swept daily for bugs. Obama replied, though he found himself lowering his voice anyway. And right now, I trust our home security more than any government facility. He opened the notebook, the leather crackling with age. The first pages were exactly as he'd remembered from his quick look in the archive. Mundane notes, daily schedules. But as they reached mid-November 1963, the tone changed dramatically. Listen to this. Obama whispered. November 15th. Met with S. regarding Dallas plans. Security protocols deliberately minimized. All according to schedule. Michelle's hand tightened on his shoulder. S. Who's S? Could be anyone. Hoover dealt with dozens of high-level officials whose names began with... Obama stopped suddenly, his finger tracing a small notation in the margin. Wait, there's more here. The margin note, written in Hoover's precise handwriting, read, Sullivan confirms DPD will cooperate. Routes adjusted. William Sullivan. Obama breathed. He was Hoover's right-hand man at the time. And DPD, Dallas Police Department. Michelle finished. Obama turned the page, his hands shaking slightly. November 18th's entry was longer. Kennedy's arrival details finalized. Our men will be pulled back from the turn onto Houston. Surveillance teams reassigned to Love Field perimeter. Clean sightlines maintained as discussed. Still concerned about Oswald's stability. May need to accelerate contingency plans. Barack. Michelle's voice was barely audible. This is... I know. He felt sick. Hoover knew. He didn't just know. He helped arrange it. A sudden knock at the study door made them both jump. Sir? It was Daniel, head of their night security team. Everything okay? The sensors showed you've been in here stationary for a while. We're fine, Daniel. Obama called back, trying to keep his voice steady. Just going through some old papers. Get some rest. They waited until the footsteps receded before continuing. The next few pages were filled with phone numbers, times, and cryptic initials. But November 21st's entry, the day before the assassination, filled 2 full pages. Obama read it aloud, his voice growing hoarser with each line. Final meeting concluded. All pieces in place. Kennedy's insistence on open car works in our favor. Dealey Plaza chosen for limited escape routes. Easier to control narrative. Oswald in position, though unstable. Backup team ready if needed. Ruby standing by if containment required. Oh God. Michelle pressed her hand to her mouth. There's more. Obama turned the page. Morning of November 22nd. It begins today. Future generations will never know the full truth. But this is necessary. The director's orders are clear. Kennedy must not leave Dallas alive. The grandfather clock chimed midnight, making them both start. Obama closed the notebook carefully. We need to make copies, Michelle said. Right now, before anything happens. To it. Obama nodded, already moving to his desk where they kept a small scanner. Digital copies, encrypted, sent to multiple secure locations. He paused, looking at his wife. Once we do this, there's no going back. This will change everything. How people view their government, the FBI, democracy itself. Michelle met his gaze steadily. The truth is the truth, Barack. No matter how ugly, it needs to come out. As Obama carefully scanned each page, his mind raced. Who else knew? How many people had carried this secret to their graves? Why had Morrison chosen now to reveal it? His phone buzzed. A text from Joe Biden. You okay? Michelle said you were working, late on something important. Obama stared at the message. Even as president, Biden wouldn't have known about this. No president had known. They'd all been shown the sanitized files, the carefully constructed narrative. All good. He texted back. Catching up on some reading. Talk tomorrow? The reply came quickly. Of course. Stay safe, brother. The irony of those words wasn't lost on him. By 1 a.m., they had finished scanning and encrypting everything. Obama sat back, exhausted, the weight of what they'd discovered pressing down on him. What happens now? Michelle asked softly. Before he could answer, both their phones buzzed simultaneously. A news alert. Obama felt his stomach drop as he read the headline. Breaking. Former FBI Special Agent James Morrison dead at 83. Controversial last days. Included attempts to contact former President Obama. They stared at each other. Someone knew. Someone was watching. We need to move fast, Obama said, standing up. By morning, they'll know I was in that archive. Michelle nodded, already pulling out her secure phone, the one they used for family emergencies. I'll call the girls. Make sure they're safe. Obama looked down at the notebook on his desk. 60 years of lies, wrapped in leather and paper. By this time tomorrow, the world would know the truth. He just had to stay alive long enough to tell it. The grandfather clock ticked steadily in the corner, counting down the hours until dawn, and with it, the beginning of a storm that would shake America to its core. Dawn broke over Washington with an unseasonable chill. Obama hadn't slept, spending the night poring over Hoover's notebook while Michelle coordinated secure locations for their daughters. Every new page brought fresh horrors. You need to eat something, Michelle said, placing a coffee and toast beside him. The study felt different in the morning light, less like a sanctuary and more like a target. Listen to this entry. Obama's voice was hoarse. November 19th, 1963. Meeting with Dallas Police Chief Jesse Curry. Man understands necessity of operation. Will ensure proper positioning of officers. Those loyal to K will be assigned elsewhere. The intercom buzzed. Sir. Daniel's voice was tense. There's a CNN breaking news alert about Agent Morrison. They're saying he had classified information about the Kennedy assassination. Obama and Michelle exchanged looks. Thank you, Daniel. Keep monitoring the news. Mr. President. Daniel hesitated. There are 2 FBI vehicles parked across the street. They arrived 10 minutes ago. Obama walked to the window, carefully staying behind the curtain. The black SUVs were obvious. Too obvious. They want us to see them, he muttered. They're sending a message. His secure phone rang, a number he recognized. Pete. He answered, naming his former head of Secret Service detail. Sir, we need to talk. Now. Pete's voice was urgent. Something's happening at the Bureau. Emergency meetings, unusual staff, movements. And, sir, they're pulling surveillance footage from the Hoover building from last night. How long do I have? Hours, maybe less. Whatever you found in there, they know you have it. A pause. Sir, these are dangerous waters. Even I don't have full clearance for what's happening. Pete, I need you to listen carefully. If anything happens to me, don't say it, sir. Please. Pete's voice cracked slightly. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Back entrance. Michelle was already moving. I'll pack a go bag. Where are we heading? Obama shook his head. Not we. Me. You need to be with the girls. Barack. Michelle. He took her hands. If they're willing to kill a president to keep this secret, they won't hesitate to hurt my family. I need you safe. A soft knock at the study door. Sir? It was Daniel again. There's a call coming in on the secure line. It's the FBI. Director. Obama straightened his shoulders. Put it through. The phone on his desk rang once. He pressed speaker. Mr. President. Director Harrison's voice filled the room. I think we need to discuss what happened last night. Do we, Tom? Obama kept his voice casual. Lots of things happen at night. You'll have to be more specific. Sir, with all due respect, this isn't a game. What you took from that archive, it could destabilize the entire country. Interesting choice of words, Tom. Not false or fraudulent, just destabilizing. So you know what's in it. A long pause. We need to meet. Privately. There are aspects to this situation you don't understand. Like how the FBI helped assassinate a sitting president? Sir. Harrison's voice hardened. Some secrets stay buried for a reason. The country isn't ready for this. It never will be. That's not your decision to make, Tom. It never was. Think about the implications. Harrison pressed. The damage to public trust, the constitutional crisis. Every case the Bureau has ever handled would be questioned. Decades of convictions could be overturned. Maybe they should be. Obama glanced at Michelle, who nodded encouragingly. Truth has a cost, Tom. But lies cost more. Sir, please, come to the Bureau. We can discuss this properly. Find a way forward that protects everyone's interests. Obama almost laughed. Like you protected Kennedy's interests. You have 1 hour to return the notebook. Harrison's voice was ice now. After that, I can't guarantee your safety. Or your family's. Michelle grabbed Obama's arm before he could respond. Wrong move, Director. She said into the speaker. You don't threaten this family. Mrs. Obama. Harrison sighed. Always a pleasure. But this is bigger than any one family. Even yours. 1 hour. Obama cut in. You'll need more time than that to destroy 60 years of evidence. Check your secure server, Tom. The notebook's contents were uploaded 10 minutes ago to multiple locations. Dead man's switch. Anything happens to us, it goes public automatically. Silence from the phone. Now, let me be clear. Obama continued, his voice taking on the same tone he'd used in the Situation Room during the bin Laden raid. I'm going to tell the American people the truth. All of it. How you handle the fallout is your problem. You'll never make it to a microphone. Harrison said quietly. You know how this works. Car accidents, home invasions, tragic random events. Try it. Obama's voice was steel. My security detail is still loyal to the Constitution, not your cover-up. And I've got copies of the notebook in places you'll never find them. Think about your legacy, Barack. Everything you built, everything you stand for, gone. You'll be the president who tore the country apart. No, Tom. I'll be the president who finally told the truth. Obama ended the call. Michelle moved instantly. Pete's almost here. You need to go. Sir! Daniel burst into the room. Multiple vehicles approaching. FBI tactical units. Obama grabbed the notebook and a small go bag. Back door, now. They moved quickly through the house. Through windows, they could see the FBI vehicles setting up a perimeter. Too late. Pete's car was already waiting in the alley. Engine running. I love you. Obama kissed Michelle quickly. Keep the girls safe. I'll contact you through the arranged channels. Barack! Michelle's eyes were fierce. Make them pay for what they did. All of them. He squeezed her hand and slipped out the door. Pete was waiting, looking grim. Where to, sir? The one place they won't expect. Obama settled into the back seat. The Kennedy Center. As they pulled away, he saw FBI agents approaching his front door. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Morrison tried to warn others before you. They all died in accidents. Stay alive, sir. The truth needs you. Pete drove skillfully, taking back roads and switching cars twice. By mid-morning, they were sitting in the Kennedy Center's private administrative office, courtesy of a director who owed Obama a favor. They'll figure out where we are eventually, Pete said, watching the door. What's the play? Obama was already writing, his pen flying across paper. We release everything, not just the notebook, all of it. The surveillance, photos I found, the audio recordings, Everything. Sir. Pete looked uncomfortable. Some of those men, their grandchildren are in government now. Senators. Federal judges. Then they'll have to answer for their grandfather's sins. Obama looked up. Pete, they killed a president. In broad daylight. Then spent 60 years lying about it. No more. His phone buzzed again. Michelle, using their secure channel. FBI searching the house. Playing dumb. Girls are safe. Harrison is furious. Another text followed quickly. CNN reporting former President Obama sought for questioning in connection with classified documents. They're trying to control the narrative. Obama smiled grimly. Perfect. They just guaranteed every news outlet in the country will want this story. Pete checked his watch. Sir, my sources say they're expanding the search perimeter. We should move soon. Almost done. Obama finished, writing, and took out his phone. One call first. He dialed a number from memory. It rang twice. Don Lemon. Don, it's Barack Obama. Are you somewhere private? A pause. I am now. Mr. President, what's going on? The FBI is saying. Don, I'm going to send you some files. After you see them, I need 90 minutes of live airtime. No delays, no editing, no FBI interference. Sir, that's not how we usually. Don, what I'm about to show you will rewrite American history. How would you like to break the biggest story since Watergate? The line was quiet for a moment. Send the files. I'll clear the schedule myself. Obama ended the call and began the upload. Across the country, in 3 separate secure locations, identical uploads were beginning. The truth was spreading, becoming unstoppable. Pete's phone chirped. Sir, FBI vehicles approaching the Kennedy Center. Someone talked. Obama stood, straightening his jacket. Right on schedule. Is the service elevator ready? Yes, sir. But... Pete hesitated. Are you sure about this? Once you go live on CNN, there's no going back. Obama thought about Kennedy's smile, about his young family, about the decades of lies that followed that day in Dallas. Some secrets shouldn't stay buried, Pete. Some truths need to be told, no matter the cost. His phone buzzed one final time. Michelle. Give them hell, baby. America deserves to know. Together, Obama and Pete moved toward the service elevator. Behind them, they could hear FBI agents entering the building. But they were too late. The truth was already out there, spreading across secure servers and encrypted drives. The day of reckoning had arrived, and Barack Obama was about to shatter 60 years of silence. Pete led Obama through the Kennedy Center's service corridors, their footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. Above them, they could hear the commotion of FBI agents searching the building. Sir? Pete whispered, checking his phone. CNN is preparing for your broadcast. Don Lemon's team has seen the initial files. A text from Don flashed on Obama's screen. My God, this is real. How soon can you be here? Before Obama could respond, Pete grabbed his arm, pulling him into a dark alcove. Heavy footsteps passed by. Tactical teams, clearing the corridors. They're bottlenecking us, Pete muttered. Trying to force us upstairs. Obama's mind raced. The underground parking connection to the Watergate. Sir, there's a maintenance tunnel. Used to be part of the original construction. I learned about it during a security briefing in '09. Pete grinned. Of course you'd remember that. They moved carefully, using Pete's old Secret Service knowledge of blind spots in the building's security camera coverage. The tunnel entrance was hidden behind a maintenance panel. Musty, dark, but clear. Obama's phone vibrated. Director Harrison again. You should answer it, Pete suggested. Keep him talking, thinking he knows where we are. Obama nodded, putting the phone on speaker. Tom, enjoying the chase? This is your last chance, Mr. President. End this now. Think about what you're doing. I have thought about it. For hours. You know what keeps coming back to me, Tom. Kennedy's son, saluting his father's casket. That boy deserved to know the truth. They all did. Sir, Harrison's voice softened. I understand your moral position. But some truths, they break things that can't be fixed. A noise in the tunnel made them freeze. Pete drew his weapon, but it was just water dripping. Things are already broken, Tom. Obama continued, keeping his voice steady. They broke the moment Hoover decided to let a president die. Everything since then has been a cover-up. You don't have all the information, Harrison pressed. Kennedy was. There were complications. National security implications that. Save it for your testimony, Tom. I'm sure Congress will be very interested in what you knew and when you knew it. Damn it, Barack. Harrison's composure cracked. You're going to start a civil war. The public will never trust law enforcement again. Maybe they shouldn't. Obama's voice was ice. Maybe we need to tear it all down and start over. Build something honest this time. They reached the tunnel's midpoint. Pete pointed to a service ladder that would take them up into the Watergate's parking structure. My teams will find you, Harrison said. Every exit is covered. Every broadcast station is being watched. Obama actually laughed. You still think I'm going to CNN studio? Tom, for a spy master, you're remarkably predictable. A pause. What do you mean? Check Don Lemon's Instagram. A moment of silence. Then Harrison cursed. On Don's social media, a post from 20 minutes ago showed him boarding a private plane. Destination: undisclosed. You're not the only one who can run an operation, Tom, Obama said. I learned a few things as Commander-in-Chief. Pete was already climbing the ladder. Obama followed, phone still on speaker. This won't end well, Harrison warned. There are people above me, people who've protected this secret for generations. They'll never let you expose this. That's where you're wrong, Tom. I already have. Obama reached the top of the ladder. Check your secure servers again. While we've been talking, the notebook's been uploaded to journalists at every major news outlet in the world. Even if you get me, the truth is out there. You son of a... Goodbye, Tom. See you in the history books. Obama ended the call as they emerged into the Watergate's parking garage. A nondescript sedan was waiting, engine running. Michelle's work. Pete grinned. She always was better at logistics than any of us. They climbed in, Obama in the back, Pete driving. As they pulled out onto Virginia Avenue, Obama's phone lit up with news alerts. Breaking. Classified JFK files surface. After 60 years. Former President Obama claims FBI role in Kennedy assassination. Don Lemon to air special report. The truth about Dallas. Sir. Pete glanced in the rearview mirror. Where exactly is Don going to interview you? Obama smiled, thinking of the one place in America that would be poetic justice for this revelation. We're heading to Dallas, Pete. I'm going to tell the truth right where they killed him. His phone buzzed one more time. Michelle. Motorcade route secured. Everyone's in position. Make history, baby. As they drove through Washington, Obama opened Hoover's notebook again. There were still pages he hadn't read. Still secrets to uncover. But for the first time since finding it, he felt something beyond the horror and anger. He felt hope. The truth was coming out. After 60 years of darkness, light was finally breaking through. Whatever happened next, there would be no more lies. Pete turned onto the highway, heading toward Andrews Air Force Base where a private jet waited. Behind them, Washington's monuments gleamed in the morning sun, symbols of a democracy that was about to face its greatest test. Obama touched the notebook's worn leather cover. We're coming for you, he whispered. All of you. The sedan accelerated, carrying its precious cargo of truth toward destiny. In a few hours, everything would change. America would finally learn what really happened in Dallas, and nothing would ever be the same. The private jet banked over Dallas, giving Obama a clear view of Dealey Plaza below. Even from this height, The familiar shape of the Texas School Book Depository stood out against the morning sky. Pete sat across from him, coordinating with their ground team. Don's already set up at the 6th floor museum. Pete reported. CBS, NBC, and Fox have all picked up the feed. We're looking at potentially the largest live audience since 9/11. Obama nodded, still focused on the plaza below. Any sign of FBI presence? They're there, but hanging back. Harrison's team is still trying to figure out how we got out of D.C. Pete smiled grimly. Michelle's false trails worked perfectly. The plane touched down at Love Field, the same airport Kennedy had arrived at on that fateful morning. As they descended the stairs, Obama couldn't help but think of the famous photographs. JFK and Jackie stepping into the Texas sunshine, unaware of what was coming. Mr. President. Don Lemon approached, extending his hand. His eyes were intense. I've been going through the files you sent, the audio recordings. My God. Have you released any of it yet? No, sir. As requested, we're waiting for the live broadcast. But, sir, Don glanced around before lowering his voice. There are things in those files that go beyond Hoover. Way beyond. The CIA involvement, the Chicago mobsters, the Cuban connection. One thing at a time, Don. Obama patted his jacket pocket, feeling the notebook. Let's start with the truth. We can prove beyond any doubt. The rest will come out in time. Their motorcade, smaller and less obvious than a presidential one, wound through Dallas streets. Obama watched the familiar landmarks pass. Turtle Creek, Oak Lawn, the edge of downtown. The weight of history pressed down with each passing mile. His secure phone buzzed. Michelle. FBI Director Harrison just requested an emergency meeting with the current president. They're trying to shut you down. Too late. Obama texted back. How are the girls? Safe. Watching the news. Proud of their father. The motorcade turned onto Houston Street. Up ahead, Dealey Plaza waited. Even on a normal day, tourists gathered there, taking photos, pointing at the 6th floor window. Today, the crowd was larger, news having spread that something big was about to happen. Sir. Pete's voice was tight. We've got company. 2 black SUVs had fallen in behind them. FBI. Let them come, Obama said quietly. They need to see this too. The cars pulled up in front of the 6th floor museum. Once the Texas School Book Depository, now a memorial to tragedy. The building stood as a silent witness to both past and present. Don Lemon's production team had set up in the 7th floor conference room, 1 floor above the sniper's perch. As Obama walked in, he could see Dealey Plaza spread out below through the same windows Oswald had used. We're live in 30 minutes, Don said, adjusting his earpiece. Sir, are you sure you want to do this here? The symbolism might be a bit. That's exactly why it has to be here, Don. Obama pulled out Hoover's notebook. The truth needs to come full circle. The door opened. Director Harrison walked in, flanked by 2 agents. Bold choice of location, Harrison said, looking around. Bit theatrical, don't you think? You could have stopped this in D.C., Tom. Obama didn't look up from his notes. Now it's too late. Sir. Harrison stepped closer, lowering his voice. Please, one last time. There are things in motion that even I don't fully understand. Powers that have protected this secret for generations. They won't just let you. Tom. Obama finally met his eyes. Sit down. Watch. Learn what real patriotism looks like. Secret Service agents, Pete's hand-picked team, took up positions around the room. Below, the crowd in Dealey Plaza had grown larger. News vans lined the streets. Obama's phone lit up with messages. All major networks standing by for live feed. Don's producer, National Guard units on standby in major cities. Pete's sources, White House requesting delay of broadcast. CNN executive, be careful, some secrets kill. Unknown number. Don sat down across from Obama, cameras positioned to catch the plaza behind them through the windows. The symbolism was impossible to miss, the truth finally emerging from the very place where it had been buried. 3 minutes. To live, a producer called out. Harrison made one last attempt. Think about what this will do to the country. The chaos, the loss of faith in institutions. The truth does not create chaos, Tom. Obama replied. Lies do. 60 years of lies. 2 minutes. Obama opened the notebook to the first marked page. Through the windows, he could see the exact spot where Kennedy's car had slowed to make the fatal turn. 1 minute. His phone buzzed one last time. Michelle, tell them everything, no matter the cost. 30 seconds. Don Lemon leaned forward, his expression grave. Mr. President, are you ready? Obama thought of Kennedy's smile, of his dreams for America, of the darkness that had snuffed out that light. He thought of Morrison, dying, but determined to share the truth. He thought of all the others who had tried to speak out over the decades, silenced one by one. 10 seconds. I'm ready, Obama said quietly. America's ready. 5, 4, 3, 2. The red lights on the cameras blinked on. Don Lemon faced the nation. Good evening. I'm Don Lemon, coming to you live from Dallas, Texas. With me is former President Barack Obama, who has discovered evidence that will change everything we thought. We knew about one of the darkest days in American history. Mr. President, Obama looked directly into the camera, holding up Hoover's notebook. My fellow Americans, what I'm about to share with you has been hidden for 60 years. It's the story of a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of our government. A plot that ended with the death of a president and a cover-up that has lasted generations. He opened the notebook, his hands steady now. This is J. Edgar Hoover's personal diary, and today it will finally tell us the truth about November 22nd, 1963. Behind him, through the windows, the sun broke through the clouds over Dealey Plaza. The truth, hidden for so long, was about to see the light, and nothing would ever be the same. Don Lemon leaned forward in his chair. Mr. President, you're saying this notebook belonged to J. Edgar Hoover himself? Yes, Don. Obama carefully turned a page, hidden for 60 years in a secret compartment in the FBI archives. But it's not just the notebook. There are photographs, audio recordings, internal memos, all deliberately concealed from the Warren Commission. Harrison shifted uncomfortably, in his seat at the back of the room. One of his agents whispered something into a phone. Let me read directly from Hoover's entry of November 17, 1963. Obama continued. Kennedy becomes more dangerous by the day. His proposed withdrawal from Vietnam threatens everything we've built. The CIA agrees. He must be removed. Our Dallas assets are in place. Don's face paled. Assets. Plural. Oswald wasn't alone, Don. He was part of a carefully orchestrated operation. Obama turned to another marked page. Listen to this entry from November 20th. Met with Ruby. He understands his role. If primary shooter fails, he will ensure no loose ends. Payment arranged through Chicago channels. The producer signaled they were trending worldwide. Every major network had picked up the feed. Mr. President. Don's voice was steady despite his obvious shock. Are you saying the FBI director himself orchestrated the assassination? Not just orchestrated it. Obama pulled out a manila envelope. He watched it happen. He removed a photograph. Crisp, clear, previously unseen. It showed Hoover standing at a window overlooking Dealey Plaza, checking his watch. The timestamp read 12:29 p.m., November 22nd, 1963. 1 minute before the first shot, the control room erupted. Producers were shouting into phones. Social media was exploding. Harrison stood up. This broadcast needs to end. Now. Sit down, Tom. Obama didn't even look at him. The truth doesn't need your permission anymore. Don studied the photograph. This changes everything. But why? Why would Hoover do this? Power. Obama opened the notebook to its final pages. Kennedy was planning massive reforms. He wanted to break up the FBI's autonomy, limit Hoover's authority. But it was more than that. Kennedy had discovered something. Something about Hoover's secret files, his control over Congress, his connections to organized crime. Sir! Pete burst into the room. We've got movement. FBI tactical teams entering the building. Obama nodded calmly. Right on schedule. Don, let's show America what else was in that archive. He signaled to a producer, who began playing audio recordings. Hoover's voice, crystal clear despite the decades, filled the room. The president must not leave Dallas alive. Ensure all loyal agents are clear of the plaza by noon. If anyone questions their reassignment, remind them of their oaths to the Bureau, not the White House. Harrison's phone rang. His face went ashen as he listened. Sir, the White House. They're seeing all of this. Of course they are, Tom. Obama smiled grimly. Everyone is seeing it. That's the point. Don leaned forward. Mr. President, these recordings, this notebook, they implicate dozens of officials. Some of their descendants are in power today. Yes, they are. Senators, judges, intelligence officials, all benefiting from positions of power their grandfathers killed to protect. Obama's voice hardened. That ends today. Through the windows, they could see police clearing Dealey Plaza. FBI vehicles surrounded the building. Sir, Pete warned, we're almost out of time. Obama held up his hand. One more thing America needs to see. He pulled out a final document, a yellowed piece of paper with a simple list of names. This is Hoover's personal record of everyone involved in the conspiracy. Some of these names will shock you. Some will break your heart. But all of them. The door burst open. FBI tactical teams flooded in, weapons drawn. This broadcast is terminated. A team leader shouted. Everyone out. Now. Don Lemon stood his ground. We're live to every major network in the world. You can't. Like hell we can't. The agent reached for the nearest camera. Obama's voice cut through the chaos. November 21st, 1963. Final entry. Everyone froze as he read from the notebook's last page. Tomorrow, we save America from itself. Kennedy's death will be tragic, but necessary. Future generations will thank us for what we're about to do. God forgive us all. He closed the notebook and looked directly into the camera. God didn't forgive them. And neither should we. The truth is, finally, the lights went out. Screens went black. In the sudden darkness, chaos erupted. But it was too late. The truth was out. Across America, millions had seen it all. The evidence. The confession. The cover-up. In the darkness of the 7th floor, Obama smiled. They could cut the power, but they couldn't stop what was coming. The storm of truth was about to break over America, and nothing would ever be the same. In the darkness of the 6th floor museum, chaos reigned. FBI tactical teams were shouting orders, news crews scrambling to maintain their equipment. Through it all, Obama remained seated, Hoover's notebook clutched firmly in his hands. Backup generators, Don Lemon called out. Where are the lights flickered back on. Pete stood by the electrical panel, grinning. Always have a contingency plan, sir. Harrison stormed forward. This is over. Everyone out. This is now a matter of national security. No, Tom. Obama's voice was steel. This is now a matter of national truth. And you're too late to stop it. His phone buzzed. Michelle. It's everywhere. Every network. Every social platform. They can't contain it. The FBI team leader looked uncertain. Sir, we have orders to what? Obama stood slowly. Arrest a former president for telling the truth. Think carefully about what side of history you want to be on. Don's producer rushed in. We're back live in 30 seconds. Every network is still carrying us. Harrison grabbed Obama's arm. You have no idea what you've done. The chaos this will cause. Actually, Tom, I do. Obama gently removed Harrison's hand. I've spent my whole life believing in what America could be. Not what it is, but what it should be. And sometimes, reaching that ideal means facing our darkest truths. 10 seconds, the producer called. Obama straightened his tie and faced the cameras again. Don Lemon, professional to the core, composed himself. We're back live in Dallas, Don announced. Mr. President, you were about to show us a list of names. Yes. Obama reopened the notebook. But before I do, America needs to understand something. This isn't just about the past. This is about right now. About who we are as a nation. He held up the list. These names, some of them belong to heroes. FBI agents who tried to stop this, who were silenced. Men like James Morrison, who died making sure this truth would finally come out. The tactical team had lowered their weapons. Even they were caught up in the gravity of the moment. Others on this list, Obama continued, they're the architects of the conspiracy. And their descendants, their protégés, still hold power today. Still benefit from the darkness they created. His phone lit up with breaking news alerts. Stock market halted after Obama JFK revelations. Congress calls emergency session. FBI Director Harrison asked to resign. Protests forming outside federal buildings nationwide. Mr. President, Don leaned forward. Are you prepared for the consequences of naming these people? Obama smiled sadly. Don, the consequences of keeping these secrets have been far worse. For 60 years, we've lived with the cancer of this lie eating away at our democracy. Today, we start the healing. He began reading names. With each one, photos appeared on screens behind him. Evidence, connections, the web of conspiracy finally exposed to daylight. Harrison slumped into a chair, his face ashen. You've just destroyed 60 years of institutional trust. No, Tom. Obama looked up from the list. Your predecessors did that when they decided to kill a president rather than lose their power. We're just finally telling the truth about it. His phone buzzed again. A message from Joe Biden. You did the right thing, brother. Whatever comes next, I've got your back. Outside, the crowds in Dealey Plaza had grown enormous. News helicopters circled overhead. History was happening, and everyone knew it. There's one more thing America needs to see, Obama said, turning to the final pages of the notebook. Hoover's last entry, written the night after the assassination. His true confession. The room fell silent. Even the FBI agents leaned forward to listen. November 23, 1963, Obama read. It is done. Kennedy is gone. The cost was high, higher than perhaps any of us imagined. I saw his son saluting the casket today. That image will haunt me until I die. But we did what had to be done. Power, once gained, cannot be surrendered. Better a dead president than a weak America. Obama closed the notebook gently. Hoover was wrong. Lies don't make us strong. Secrets don't make us safe. Only the truth can do that. Don wiped his eyes. Sir, what happens now? Now? Obama stood, walking to the window overlooking Dealey Plaza. Now we do the hard work. Congress will investigate. Prosecutions will follow. Some powerful people will fall. Institutions will be reformed. And the FBI? Harrison asked quietly. Will be rebuilt. Better. Transparent. Worthy of the trust it asks for. Obama turned back to the cameras. America has survived worse than the truth, Tom. We survived a civil war, 2 world wars, 9/11. We'll survive this too. His phone buzzed one last time. Michelle. They're calling for immediate congressional hearings. It's happening, baby. It's really happening. Obama faced the cameras one final time. My fellow Americans, today is not the end. It's a beginning. For 60 years, we've lived with a lie at the heart of our democracy. Today, we choose truth. Today, we choose light. Today, we begin again. Don Lemon sat back, tears in his eyes. Mr. President, thank you. Outside, the sun was setting over Dallas. In Dealey Plaza, thousands of citizens had gathered spontaneously, holding candles. The scene was being repeated across the country, people coming together, facing the truth. Together. Harrison stood slowly. I hereby tender my resignation as FBI director. First wise decision the Bureau's made in 60 years. Obama said quietly. There will be more to come. Pete appeared at his side. Sir, it's time to go. Michelle's waiting. Obama nodded, gathering the notebook and files. As he walked toward the door, he paused beside Harrison. Tom, remember what I said about some secrets killing? The truth can hurt, but lies destroy everything they touch. Remember that while you're testifying to Congress. The tactical team parted, letting him pass. Down in the plaza, the crowd began to cheer as he emerged from the building. History had come full circle. His phone lit up with more alerts. Congress announces special commission on FBI revelations. Kennedy family calls for full investigation. World leaders react to Obama's JFK disclosure. Stock market to remain closed amid national crisis. But Obama barely noticed. His eyes were on the sunset, on the gathered crowds, on the face of a nation finally confronting its darkest truth. The lies were over, the healing could begin, and nothing would ever be the same. As Obama's motorcade wound through the Dallas streets, the city was transforming. People poured out of office buildings, gathering on sidewalks. Some were crying, others hugging strangers. The truth had shaken everyone. Sir, Pete called from the front seat. The Kennedy family is releasing a statement. Obama checked his phone. Caroline Kennedy's words filled the screen. Today, after 60 years, we finally know the truth about my father's murder. The pain is fresh again, but so is the hope. Hope that America can finally heal from this wound. On behalf of my family, I thank President Obama for his courage in bringing this truth to light. The motorcade turned onto the highway. Behind them, Dallas was erupting with impromptu gatherings. Churches were opening their doors. People needed to be together, to process what they'd learned. Barack. Michelle's voice came through the car's speaker. Turn on CNN. They switched on the built-in screen. Don Lemon was still broadcasting from the 6th floor museum. But now, he was reading from newly released documents. These files show a systematic campaign of intimidation against anyone who questioned the official story. Don was saying, over 300 people silenced through threats, false arrests, and yes, suspicious deaths. The conspiracy didn't end with the assassination. It continued for decades. Obama's phone buzzed constantly now. Supreme Court Chief Justice calls emergency meeting. Pentagon raises security level at all facilities. Wall Street to remain closed. Through week. FBI regional offices reporting mass resignations. Sir. Pete glanced back. Where exactly are we heading? Obama looked out at the Texas landscape rushing past. One more stop, Pete. There's someone we need to see. The car turned off the highway, heading toward a small suburb outside Dallas. They pulled up to a modest house with a well-tended garden. An elderly man was waiting on the porch. That's him? Pete asked. Obama nodded. William Turner, age 93, last surviving FBI agent who tried to expose the truth in 1964. They destroyed his career, but they couldn't break him. Turner stood shakily as Obama approached the porch. His eyes were bright with tears. I've been waiting 60 years for this day, Turner said softly. Watched all of it on TV. Never thought I'd live to see the truth come out. Tell me your story, Bill, Obama said, sitting beside him. America needs to hear it. Turner's hands trembled. I was a young agent, assigned to the Dallas office. The day before it happened. I saw things, heard things. tried to warn my superiors, and they shut you down. Transferred me to Alaska the next day. By the time I got back, the official story was set. Anyone who questioned it. He shook his head. Well, you've seen Hoover's files now. You know what happened to us. Obama's phone buzzed again. Michelle sending updates. Congressional leaders calling for immediate hearings. Former FBI officials coming forward with new evidence. Protests growing outside FBI headquarters. Global markets in freefall. Sir, Pete called from the car. White House is asking for you. President wants to coordinate response. But Obama stayed seated, listening as Turner pulled out old photos, shared memories of fallen colleagues who'd tried to speak up. This was important too, hearing from those who'd carried the burden of truth for so long. They took everything from me, Turner said quietly. My career, my reputation, my family. But they couldn't take the truth. And now, he smiled through tears. Now everyone knows. Obama squeezed the old man's shoulder. Your name will be cleared, Bill. All of your names. That's my next fight. His phone lit up with more breaking news. FBI Director Harrison taken into custody. Congress announces special prosecutor. Kennedy family calls for new investigation. Stock market faces historic crisis. The sun was setting as they left Turner's house. The old agent stood on his porch, straighter now, as if a great weight had lifted from his shoulders. Where to now, sir? Pete asked as they pulled away. Obama looked at his phone, at the chaos unfolding across the nation, at the truth breaking, like a tidal wave over everything. Home, he said quietly. To Michelle and the girls. To whatever comes next. As they drove through the gathering darkness, Obama thought about Kennedy's dream for America. A dream of truth, justice, and real democracy. Today, 60 years late, that dream was finally getting its chance. His phone buzzed one final time. A message from an unknown number. They killed a president to keep their power, but they couldn't kill the truth. Thank you for finishing what we tried to start. Obama looked out at the Texas night, at a nation forever changed by truth. The healing could finally begin, and nothing would ever be the same.